Yeah, good evening. No, no, please continue. I will wait. No, no, I will wait. Please continue with your cultural activities. No, I will wait. So, with your permission, let me start. Yes? Thank you very much. This is the problem with teaching polity, because everyone believes that they are sovereign. Reading constitution, it starts with we the people of India, right? Please remember, you are not sovereign individuals, you are pardon, you are NPLs, right? Non performing, I did not say anything, right? So let us come back to what we were discussing previously. Yesterday only, I think we had class yesterday. Right, okay. So yesterday we were discussing about right to information and all the major problems, major hurdles in implementation of RTI. So let us try to recall what we have said. I think we have almost completed it. Let us try to recall. We said that Official Secrets Act was a major hindrance to RTI. As long as RTI, OSA is there, there cannot be any scope for RTI. So secondly, also recommended that this OSA should be repealed and should be replaced with NSA, National Security Act. Rest of the information should be made public. Then we had spoken about the problems in the functioning of information commissions related to their credibility, number of cases that are pending, and also the powers of information commissions. And we have spoken about what the government has done. 2019 changes made to RTI Act. We have criticized those changes also. Then we spoke about other problems in the implementation of RTI. We said that lack of awareness among the citizens, and the DP, this data protection and data, the privacy bill, how it has literally made RTI totally ineffective, because any information can be categorized as personal information by the state and it will be denied to the people. Earlier there were safeguards to categorize any information as personal information. Right now on the DP bill, everything can be called personal information, so that ultimately the state can deny all the information to the people. And then we spoke about the attitudes of our bureaucracy also, colonial attitudes of our bureaucracy, which has prevented them from understanding the significance of these landmark reforms. They still continue to believe that they are the masters and they should be treating people as their servants, right? Can we file RTI for our MLA MP expenses of his or her funds? MP lads, you can file RTI. MLA lads also, you can file RTI. Right now they can say that it is part of their personal expenses, they will not give you information. And the DP bill. So otherwise you can file RTI. And we also have said that another problem with RTI is protection of this RTI activists. Hundreds of RTI activists have been killed in the last 15 years or so, wherein there is no protection given to the RTI activists. And there is a Whistleblowers Protection Act had so many loopholes also. So we have seen all these, and then we also have spoken about the Section 8 of RTI, wherein so many organizations are kept out of RTI. For example, judiciary. We spoke about parliamentary committees, then army, and other institutions which have strongly opposed to RTI. The second ARC recommended that all these institutions should be brought under RTI to ensure complete transparency in administration. So and then we also have said that most of the RTI applications, more than 80% of RTI applications are filed by people in urban areas only. People in rural areas are lacking awareness about RTI. This is where it is most required also, because as this year's economic survey has pointed out, almost the central and state governments combined together are implementing at least 600 schemes, 580 schemes. And people in villages, most of the schemes are for people in villages only. How many of our villages know about all these schemes? And that is where we find systematic corruption also. So this is another reason why we need to create awareness among the people, especially in rural areas, about the significance of RTA, because then only they can demand information which can lead to accountability also. Right. So these are all some of the weaknesses in the implementation of RTA. Let us look at one or two more before we complete our discussions on RTA. Next problem is this is what Second Administrative Reforms Commission has identified. It has said that our ministers, cabinet ministers, councillor ministers, prime ministers, chief ministers, they take what is called oath of secrecy. Oath of secrecy. What does this mean? You must have seen the swearing in ceremony of the ministers, right? At the central level, it is conducted by the president. At the state level, by the governors. The minister will be standing on one side and the president will be there on the other side. The president will say I, and the ministers will say I, and then they will read their names, and then they will read the rest of the swearing in ceremony. So what is the so problematic about this swearing in ceremony? This swearing in ceremony again is part of what is called colonial legacy. As part of this swearing in ceremony, they say that whatever the information that they come across as a part of being in the council of ministers, they will keep this information highly secretive in nature. What is the objective of RTI? To ensure transparency. So how can they keep the information secretive? That is the reason why second ERC has suggested that this oath of secrecy should be replaced with oath of transparency. Let them say that they will make the entire information public rather than being kept secretive in nature, so that we can implement RTI in a more efficient manner also. That is what you write. People elected representatives, people elected representatives, people elected representatives, as part of their swearing in ceremony, as part of their swearing in ceremony, CEREMONY, take the oath of secrecy, take the oath of secrecy, take the oath of secrecy. They will make the promise that they will make the promise that they shall keep the entire, they shall keep the entire information at their disposal, at their disposal in a highly secretive manner, in a highly secretive manner. Secretive manner. But the objective of RTI, is to ensure complete transparency, is to ensure complete transparency in governance. In order to realize this objective, in order to realize this objective, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, second ERC, suggested that this oath of secrecy should be replaced with the oath of transparency. That is, they must make sure that the entire administration is carried out in a transparent manner. Right. So this is what another issue. The next problem with RTI is that through RTI we are ensuring transparency, right, in administration. We are ensuring transparency in administration. Yes. Exactly. That's what we are saying. Colonial practices. I know, but before that there were ministries in the government also. After 1919 Government of India Act, elections were held and Indian ministers were there. Right. So at that point of time Indian ministers were also there. They were taking the oath of secrecy. Next, what we are saying here is that the objective of RTI is to ensure transparency. Once there is transparency, what should be there in a logical manner? This transparency must lead to accountability. Right? It should also lead to accountability. For example, I have filed an RTI application and I had come to know about the corruption that is taking place in one particular government department. What should be the next logical step? The person who has indulged in corruption must be punished. Right? The transparency should lead to accountability. And what is the problem here? Transparency has not resulted in accountability. We have come to know about so much of corruption that is taking place within the government, but it did not lead to any accountability. Why? Because we don't have proper accountability mechanisms within the administration. That is what the Second Administrative Reforms Commission also has pointed out. It has said that RTI might have led to transparency in administration, but it did not lead to accountability of administration. So what is the solution? Second ERC has suggested that let there be vigilance mechanisms right from the lowest level, that is from the district level, to the topmost level, that is to the central level, wherein these vigilance commissions must receive complaints through RTI applications regarding corruption, and they must conduct investigations in a time-bound manner and punish the culprits, so that transparency can also result in accountability. That is what we said. Good governance means all those features. Two important features of good governance are transparency and accountability. That is what the Second Administrative Reforms Commission has suggested. Let this transparency also leads to accountability. What is the point of knowing that corruption had taken place unless we are able to punish the person who has indulged in corruption? For that you need effective vigilance mechanisms. So Second Administrative Reforms Commission has suggested that let there be these vigilance mechanisms right from the district level. In the district collector's office, let there be a vigilance cell which receives these complaints regarding corruption which are made public through RTI. and they must come out with their investigations in a time-bound manner and punish the culprits. That is what they have suggested. So through RTA, we have come to know during the UPA time, during the previous government's time, by filing RTA applications only, we had come to know about the corruption. So many cases of what you call corruption, 2G spectrum scam, then coal allocation scam, then this Adarsh scam, then Antris divorce deal, CWG, games scam. So in those days, opposition parties used to say that the government had, committed corruption, under the ground, under the land, under the earth, coal allocations, coal mines, in the sky, spectrum, right on the surface of the earth also, real estate and other scams. So there was corruption everywhere. Corruption was omnipresent at that point of time. That is what they used to say. But where is the punishment? How many of them have been punished? That is where we talk about accountability. There must be accountability. And for that we need effective vigilance mechanism, anti-corruption mechanisms. That is what the second RC also suggested. That is what you write also. It is observed by, next point, you can write the point. You don't, if you want heading, you can take the heading vigilance mechanism. Vigilance mechanism. A vigilance mechanism. As observed by Second Administrative Reforms Commission, as observed by second RC, transparency has led to this is what you say, unearthing of corruption within administration. Corruption within administration. That means discovering of corruption within administration. Corruption within administration. But unfortunately, this transparency has not resulted in accountability. Due to absence of effective accountability mechanisms. Next paragraph. Effective accountability mechanisms. Next paragraph. Second Administrative Reforms Commission suggested that separate vigilance cells, CELLS, should be set up from the district level onwards. These institutions must receive complaints with regard to corruption, and investigate the matter within a time-bound manner. and investigate the matter within a time-bound manner. So that transparency can also result in accountability. Can also result in accountability. Right. So this is another problem and another solution. So these are all the issues related to second ERC. And as I said, you can go through. I have given you this synopsis of second ERC report also. There on RTI, you can go through that. And I also have given you. I think did you receive the handwritten notes? Today I think I have sent. No. Okay, you'll be receiving it in a handwritten notes where all these things are there, so that you have material at different places. You have the printed material, you have the handwritten notes, you have the vision study material, right, and the notes you are writing. And where it should be there as usual, it will not be there. Where it should be there? In your mind. Very good. So please read any of them. Please read any of them, because every year what UPSC is doing, they are taking one problem and asking questions related to it. One problem, and the questions are asked either in your governance or in ethics papers. In ethics, the questions are asked either in section A or as case studies. I have given you the example of this case study also, wherein was this case study about the misuse of RTI. We had come out with the solutions in the form of making changes to section 7 of RTI, and we said that this may not be the ideal solution. The real solution should be making changes to section 4 of RTI. It was asked for 25 marks. So that is what it is from right to information. Let us move on to the next set of governance reforms. We will be studying about these civil society organizations. Then NGOs, non-governmental organizations, pressure groups, voluntary associations, then professional organizations, then we will also discuss about self-help groups, right? We will be talking about all of them. All of them are part of what we call development industry. Development industry. As usual, all these topics are there in your ethics paper also. Half of ethics case studies are about these things only, right? All of them are there in your ethics paper also. Questions are asked in your GS paper 1 as part of social issues. In polity governance, anyway, they will be asked. And of course, in ethics paper, both section A as well as case studies from these topics. And every year, at least you have in all these papers combined together, you have at least minimum around 80 to 100 marks only from one topic. That's what I keep on saying. Optimization is more important than maximization. You should know what are the topics which give you more marks in your main examination rather than reading the entire syllabus, right? The only thing that is required is that you must be in a position to interlink all of them, because the same question can be asked in GS paper 1 as part of social issues or in our governance also, the same question. It can be asked in your polity also, the same question. For example, these CAP panchayats, It was asked in polity. Ka panchayats. It is part of these pressure groups, right? Let us look at all of them. So how we are going to discuss this topic? As usual, we will start with why these civil society organizations had come into existence. Why did they come into existence? Why the civil society organizations or NGOs or pressure groups or whatever you want to say, why did they come into existence? Second, what exactly are these civil society organizations? We are looking at the meaning. Third, what are the functions performed by them? What are the functions or activities performed by them? And then four, what is the criticism against these organizations? What is the criticism against these organizations? And finally, we will talk about the solutions also. What should be done? As part of solutions, we will also talk about what were the measures taken by the government in recent times and what should be done ideally also. So this is what we will be discussing. This is how we will be discussing these issues. So as usual, let us start with the why aspect of the question. So what do we say here? We say that industrial revolution, as we keep on saying, is the most important event that took place in the history of human civilization. Industrial revolution. That's the reason why you must have studied about this in your world history also. Right? So what are the consequences of industrial revolution? Yes, what are the consequences of industrial revolution? Pardon? Mass-based production. Okay. What are the consequences of industrial revolution on societies? So, this industrial revolution has resulted in the emergence of two powerful institutions. It has resulted in the emergence of two powerful institutions which dominated the lives of people for the last more than 3 centuries. What are those institutions? First one is what you call the markets or private sector. Right? Second one is the state or government. First one is the market or private sector. Second one is the state or government. So before industrial revolution, what kind of markets were there? What kind of markets were there in the world before industrial revolution? What kind of markets? What kind of exchange system was there? Yes, now barter system. So what is this barter system? Exchange of goods and services for goods and services. You have 1 kilo of potatoes and I have 1 kilo of tomatoes. We will be exchanging them. You have 1 kilo of white sugar. I have 1 kilo of brown sugar. It does not mean that I have, right? So, or it is the other opposite way, right? So, very good, So that is the reason why before industrial revolution, societies were what we call them as sustenance societies. Sustenance, S-U-S-T-E-N-A-N-C. That means whatever that is being produced was sufficient to sustain the societies. There was no trade. There was no large scale trade. When can there be trade in any society? The trade can be there only when there is surplus. Before industrial revolutions, the societies were only agrarian economies. In agriculture, you cannot have much of surplus also. With industrial revolution, we have seen mass increase in production, producing goods and services on a very large scale, which led to what is called these market-based societies. Private sector started dominating. It led to ultimately this colonialism, mercantilism, and imperialism also, because these countries started dominating rest of the world, these industrialized societies. So with industrial revolution, we have seen the emergence of markets, private sector. Please remember, any institution in any society can survive as long as it has the confidence of the people. So what is the reason why markets have survived for more than 250 years of industrial revolution, almost 300 years? What is the reason why people have accepted the markets? Why they have accepted the private sector? Why? Because in market, the prices are always determined on the basis of demand and supply. They are demanded on the basis of demand and supply. And the private sector always focuses on efficient utilization of resources. Efficient utilization of resources, because there is so much of competition in the markets. If you have to make profits, you can make profits by selling your products more. And when can you sell your products more? Only when you provide what you call quality services to the people, quality products to the people. So people in general have accepted the fact that this private sector is efficient. The decisions are taken in a rational manner. For example, for a producer, a rational decision is that one which gives him maximum profits. For a consumer, a rational decision is the one which gives him maximum satisfaction also. This is what we study in microeconomics, right? So markets will be in equilibrium most of the time. And that is the reason why these private sector and markets have been accepted by the people, because they are based on the concept of rationality. Rationality. Decisions are taken on the basis of rationality. Another powerful institution that had come into existence after industrial revolution is the state or the government. Before industrial revolution, you could see that all over the world, the major form of a political system was only monarchy, kingship, dictator. And with industrial revolution, we have seen revolutions in other countries around the world also. American Revolution, French Revolution, German Revolution, Spanish Revolution. And what is the outcome of all these revolutions? It led to the emergence of democracy. Dictatorship was replaced with democracy. People elected representatives are now ruling the country on behalf of the people. They enjoyed credibility, legitimacy, because they have been elected by the people. And not only that, they are also accountable to the people. They are also accountable to the people. How? Through electoral process. So if you are not satisfied with the present government, in the next elections you can elect a different government. On the other hand, if you are satisfied, you can continue with the same government. After every 5 years, this kind of a facility is available to the people as part of democracy. So the state as well as markets, they have enjoyed a huge amount of credibility, because in both state and markets, you say rationality. In democracy also, we have so many choices, and we can always elect our representatives on the basis of rationality, depending on whom we think can do good for us. So for a long period of time, these two institutions started dominating our societies. But over a period of time, what happens? As we studied, the natural tendency in any society is to move towards entropy. So these institutions also had become inefficient over a period of time. How? These markets, started what is called monopolies. Monopolies. Competition, has been converted into a monopoly with the dominance by big multinational companies. And what is the problem with a monopoly? What is the problem with monopoly? A monopolist is not at all concerned about either the quality of services or the price of services, because people don't have any choices. And these monopolists would fix the prices the way he likes. He would completely control, dominate and regulate the markets. And who suffered the most? People. So people suffered the most in the form of inefficient, low quality services provided by the monopolist at very high prices. And the same thing happened with the state. State also had become completely monopolistic. And the state, as we discussed, had become some sort of a leviathan. That is what we have discussed. Wherein those who are part of the state, instead of working for the people, started working against the interests of the people. State had become over a period of time an instrument of exploitation. They are using the power that was given to them by the people to exploit the people, to take away the rights and freedoms of the people, but not to maximize welfare of people. So both the state and markets had become exploitative in nature. When the state and markets had become exploitative in nature, what can the people do? They had to protect their interests, right, from exploitation by both the state and markets. How can they protect their interests? That is where we have seen the emergence of civil society organizations. These civil society organizations had come into existence to protect the citizens, people, from exploitation by the state and the markets. These two powerful institutions had become exploitative in nature over a period of time, and people had come together to protect themselves. What exactly is a civil society organization? When two or more people come together in a voluntary manner to protect their rights and freedoms from exploitation by other institutions like state and markets, we call it as a civil society organization. They are trying to protect their interests. They are trying to protect their rights and freedoms from exploitation. For example, in your locality, a multinational company is starting their industry, and it is in midst of forest. You are part of the tribal community. The government had given permission to this multinational company, and they are exploiting your resources. Government and multinational company are on the same page. So what do? You collect your people together and start agitations against this multinational company. That is where you talk about a civil society organization, a non-governmental organization. And that is the reason why, if you look at it, almost half of the case studies are about these things only. Out of 6 case studies that UPSC asks in your ethics paper, at least 3 case studies are about these things only. And what will you do under those circumstances as an administrator? Right? So that is the reason why you must be knowing what exactly these civil society organizations, what are these pressure groups, what are these non-governmental organizations, what are these voluntary associations, what are these religious institutions, caste-based organizations. They are all part of what is called civil society organizations. And what do? They work for the people. They try to protect the interests of the people. They try to promote the freedoms and the rights of the people from exploitation by other organs of the state. That is how. And where did we find the civil society organizations coming into existence for the first time? These civil society organizations had come into existence for the first time in Europe during these world wars, first and second. Again, as you must have studied in world history, both the first and second world wars had taken place on the soil of Europe only. It was the European countries that were responsible for these world wars. And incidentally, for both these world wars, it was only Germany which was responsible. Both first and second world war. In case of the first world war, Germany had become industrialized late compared to other countries in Europe. And other countries in Europe had become already imperial powers. France, Spain, Dutch, and Portuguese, and of course the Britishers. They had occupied the rest of the world. By the time Germany had become a rich and powerful country, there was no country in the world for the Germany to occupy. So Germans had decided to let them occupy these imperial powers. Automatically they will also occupy the rest of the world. So First World War, as you know, it was it ended as a stalemate with Germany on the losing side. And since it was not conclusive, it led to the Second World War. And in both these world wars, please remember, they were wars of aggression, not of defense. Right now, take the case of Russia-Ukraine war. Russia's war is war of aggression. Ukraine's war is war of defense. So what happened when these wars were fought in Germany at that point of time? It was because of this lust for power by the rulers, whether it is Germany or Italy or Mussolini or Hitler. Right? Then the people of these countries had come onto the streets to protest in a voluntary manner against their government. And that led to the birth of what we call civil society organizations. Here, people had come onto the streets. They protested against their governments in a voluntary manner, resulting in the birth of civil society organizations. If you look at India, we have the civil society organizations during the freedom movement itself. Mostly these organizations were in the form of what is called social reformers, whether it is in Bengal or Maharashtra or Kerala, or Tamil Nadu, social reformers. And when the freedom movement was going on, simultaneously we have this kind of social reform movement also. In Tamil Nadu, it was caste reform movements, especially for this DMK. That is the reason why right now you can see in Tamil Nadu the politics are completely different from the rest of the country. Because for them, caste is more problematic than religion. So in India also we had seen the civil society movements, especially during the freedom movement simultaneously also, wherein the social reformers have focused on moving or removing all those social evils that characterized the functioning of Indian societies, whether it is caste or untouchability or caste discrimination, or whether it is related to abolition of this child marriages and promotion of a widow remarriage and education of a girl child. All these were part of social reform movements at that time of independence. And this is what we say in India. And after independence, what happened, we can see a little bit later. So let us take a few points about whatever we have discussed. Why civil society organizations? Start with why. Why do we need civil society organizations? Why do we need civil society organizations? Write down. Industrial revolution had resulted in the emergence of two powerful institutions which influenced the lives of lives of ordinary citizens for a very long period of time. They are the markets and the state. Markets and the state. Next paragraph. Markets have gained legitimacy. Legitimacy because of rational decision making. They are guided by the principles of demand and supply. On the other hand, the state has gained legitimacy. The state has gained legitimacy due to the emergence of democratic systems of governance. Democratic systems of governance. Democracy is based on the principles of participation, representation, and accountability. It is also based on rational choices made by the people. Rational choices made by the people at the time of elections. At the time of elections. Next paragraph. But over a period of time, both these institutions which had come into existence to maximize welfare of people, have become exploitative in nature. Next paragraph. Functioning of markets led to the emergence of a monopoly, wherein consumers suffered due to low quality of services, and very high prices charged by monopolist. Full stop. The state had become a Leviathan, 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 wherein powers are used by rulers to take away the freedom and independence of citizens. to take away freedoms and independence of citizens, than to maximize their welfare. Than to maximize their welfare. Next paragraph. With both these institutions, with both these institutions becoming exploitative in nature, comma, ordinary citizens had no option but to come together to protect their interests. Comma, resulting in the emergence of civil society organizations. Right. Next heading, history of civil society organizations. History of civil society organizations. Civil society organizations had their origins in Europe. During the world wars. These wars were fought by imperial powers. To protect their colonies. They were wars of aggression. They were wars, WARS, wars of aggression, rather than of defense. You are not fighting war to defend your country, you are fighting war to occupy and control more countries. People in these European countries had come together in a voluntary manner to protest against these wars fought by their rulers. It led to the emergence of civil society organizations. Right. Next, what is a civil society organization? Definition. What is a civil society organization? Civil society organizations are formed, CSO, civil society organizations are formed, FORMED, when two or more people come together in a voluntary manner to protect and promote their rights from exploitation by others in the society. That is what we say a civil society organization. When two or more people, they are coming together in a voluntary manner to protect and promote their rights from exploitation. So, proceeding further, we have seen why these civil society organizations. We also have seen the history of civil society organizations, and we also have seen what is a civil society organization. Two or more people coming together in a voluntary manner to protect their interests from exploitation by others, to promote their interests also. That is what we call a civil society organization. Proceeding further, let us see what are the important features of civil society organizations. What are the important features of civil society organizations? What are the important features of civil society organizations? So, how do we know whether a particular organization is a civil society organization or not? What are the features? So, what do we say? First, we say that entry and exit is completely voluntary in nature. We say that entry and exit is completely voluntary in nature. That means you can enter into any civil society organization, you can leave the organization also at your own will. Nobody can force you. For example, when can you become part of market? When can you become part of market? How do you become part of market? How do you become part of market? Are you part of markets right now? Yes, how? You can be part of market either as a producer or a consumer. Pardon? You can become part of market either as a producer or a consumer. As a producer, it can be you are not starting an industry. You can also become part of that industry with your services you are providing to it. You are an engineer and you have joined an organization. You are part of this producing community. And of course, every person is a consumer only. There can be very less producers, but maximum number of consumers. Everyone is a consumer. The moment we take birth, we are consuming things only. So you are part of markets only. So in case of again, please remember, you can become a consumer only when two things are fulfilled. One is desire. Second one is ability. Right? I am sure all of you want the latest Mercedes-Benz model. Yes? No? You cannot imagine. Okay. Latest Hero cycle. Hero cycle. That is also too much, 25,000 rupees. iPhone. Very good. Yes, you will be carrying a China phone and you want iPhone. Good. So, all of you, that's what we say. Desire is there. Those who do not want the latest Mercedes-Benz car, they can raise their hands. I would like to see them. One person, two, three. Yes, I can understand. Because they have not seen any car in their lifetime. So, so where is the question of Mercedes-Benz, right? I can understand. No problem, right? So, otherwise, why you don't want? Yes, one more problem. You have the car. What about the petrol? In the United States of America, what is the difference between poor people in India and America? In America, even a beggar comes in a car to beg. They, this is I have seen in UK, in London. I have seen these things. They come in their cars and they park and they will go to the metro stations and they start begging, and after that collect money and they will go in their car. That is what is called a developed country. In India, when you buy a car, you will become a beggar for petrol and diesel. So that is the reason why some of you have raised hands. I can understand also, right? So that is what we study in our ethics paper. The most important value that is necessary is empathy. What is empathy? What is the meaning of the word empathy? What is empathy? You must be able to feel the sufferings of other person. For example, the other person, a person had come to you and said that I did not have food for the last 2 days. I am totally hungry. I did not eat anything for the last 2 days. You must be able to understand the sufferings, feelings of that person. When was the last time you had you went on empty stomach for 2 days continuously? Right? That is what is called empathy. Tomorrow, when you become a civil servant, you will be facing these kind of people only. When you become a district collector. So you can help them only when you are able to feel the sufferings of people. Then only you can become an efficient civil servant. That's the reason why we study in our ethics paper. We say that if civil servants have empathy, nothing else matters. If they don't have empathy, again nothing else matters. A very famous quotation you have to write in your ethics papers. If they have empathy, nothing else matters. If you are able to feel the sufferings of people, then you can go and help them out of your way also. If you don't have empathy, howsoever efficient you may be, but you will never be effective, because you will only talk about quoting rules and regulations. For example, an old woman is coming to your house. You are a district collector, in the middle of the night. She says that she is extremely poor and she had not had food for the last 2 days, and she wants you to help her immediately. And you are, as we study later, in a Weberian bureaucracy. In a Weberian bureaucracy, everything must be done only on the basis of written documentation. So you will ask her whether she is having the necessary documents to prove that she is poor. Looking at her, you can see that she is extremely poor, but you want documents. You will ask her whether she is carrying any Aadhaar card. She says that she does not have any Aadhaar. Where is the card? Right? And you ask her, is she carrying any ration card? She said that she does not have any address. Where is the ration card? So, if you are a Weberian bureaucrat, as we study later, what you will tell her? You will tell her that since you do not have any kind of authentication cards or identities, I cannot help you. I can see that you are poor. I can see that you don't have food for the last 2 days, but I cannot help you. Please take care of yourself. God bless you. Yes, that is what you will say. And one of the important reasons why bureaucracy in India has been a complete failure is because of this. Whatever I have just told you, has been asked as a case study in ethics paper for 20 marks. What will you do under those circumstances? The case study says. What will you do under those circumstances? You will provide food. What will you do? If you encounter the same situation, what will you do? First, provide food. Is it your duty to provide food to her? You are providing food and shelter to her out of humanitarian perspective. Tomorrow morning, 10,000 people will be there in front of your house. She would go and tell everyone that this collector is just like God. He is helping everyone. So tomorrow morning, 10,000 people will be there in front of your house. Day after tomorrow, you will be in front of the house of other people, begging them, please give me money so that I can feed all of them. So that is not the solution. What will you do? Anyway, think about it and let us come back to what we are discussing. What I will do? I will only ask questions, please remember. My job is only to ask questions. And when there are no answers, where is model? I will be asking so many questions like this. Why only this question? I will be asking so many questions like this as part of our governance. I think in our previous polity classes also I have asked you some questions. What is happiness? What is happiness? So what is happiness for you? Pardon? What is happiness? And then another question, what is God? I am not saying who is God. All of you are becoming intelligent, That's why I said what is God, not who is God. When I say ask the question who is God, you will be quoting all of them, either depending on your faith. It can be Ram or Shiva or Krishna or Christ or Allah or anyone else. But I am asking what is God? God is a hope. So if we are praying to God means we are hoping against hope. In a hopeless manner. Someone is saying happiness means having account in Swiss bank. First have account, Jan Dhan account. Jan Dhan accounts are zero balance accounts. Then think about, I don't think in Swiss banks they will have zero balance accounts. They don't have, right? So what is the answer to these questions? What is happiness? So when do you feel happy? Let us assume that assumption only. You got into civil service and you have become an IAS officer. Is it happiness? Yes? Yes? Everyone? No. Yes. Then what is happiness? Okay. Another simple question. How many of you are good? How many of you are good? Pardon? How many of you are good? That is my next question. So how many of you are good? You must be knowing whether you are good or bad. So how many of you are good? Or how many of you are bad? Very good. Okay. So what is bad? You cannot say that, please look at my face, you will understand. Right. So there must be some definition. So, you are writing in the examination. Let us assume that you are writing in the examination. And that is a final semester. You have to clear that examination, otherwise 1 year will be lost. And your friend is sitting next to you. And you don't know the answers to most of the questions as usual. So he is willing to show his answer sheet to you. Will you copy or not? Yes? Yes or no? Yes? Is it good or bad? Is it good or bad? It will be good provided your friend had written good answers. If he is also like you, it is not bad, it is worst. Because you don't know the answers also. Right? So anyway, try to find out answers to all these questions. Right? Let us come back to the features of a civil society organizations. Right? Don't worry. Try to find out the answer to these questions. I will give you the answers in our last class. You have to wait. Right? In our last class, I will give answers. Before that, I will be asking more questions also. I will be asking more questions also. Right? So let us come back and look at what we are discussing, because we have to complete the syllabus also. What are the important features of civil society organizations? The first one we have said is that entry and exit into civil society organization is completely voluntary in nature. This is not the case with either government or markets. You can become part of markets either as a producer or a consumer with certain conditions attached to it. Similarly, you can become part of the government only when certain conditions are fulfilled. You can join any NGO today and you can leave it tomorrow. It is completely, it is completely voluntary in nature. Second, what exactly is the civil society organization? We say that any organization which is not part of either state or markets can be part of a civil society organization. Any organization which is not part of either state or markets, we say are part of civil society organizations. Next thing, we say that the civil society organizations are non-profit organizations. They will not be working for profits. They will not be working to maximize profits. They are non-profit organizations. Then what do they work for? They work for people. They work for people. They work for people. They work to maximize welfare of people. So how do they maximize welfare of people? They will try to maximize welfare of people by reducing the distance between the people and the government. As we keep on saying, in our representative democracy, participation of people in governance is restricted only to voting in elections. And this is where civil society organizations this is where civil society organizations come into picture. They will try to bridge the gap between the citizens and the government. They will try to transform representative democracy into participatory democracy. How? First, they will create awareness among citizens about their rights. They will create awareness among citizens about their rights. These NGOs will go to the field level. They will work with the people. They will tell the people that the government is implementing these schemes for you. You are going to be the beneficiaries. you must receive the benefits on time. That kind of awareness is important. The question they have asked in our governance paper repeatedly, success of any of the developmental or welfare schemes depend only one thing, that is creating awareness among the people about the rights and also the knowledge about these schemes. As I said, this year's economic survey has pointed out that central and state governments are implementing 580 schemes for the people of the country. Central and state governments combined together, 580 schemes. You go to any village in India, ask any villager, can he name all the schemes? How many schemes can he name? Maximum 10 schemes. Maximum 10 schemes. And if we ask UPSC aspirants, they will name around 20 schemes, because they have to study all of them. Because in the prelims, lots of schemes are asked. In the mains also, lots of these schemes are asked. What about the remaining 570 schemes? Where the money is going? They are all implemented by the government. People know only about 10 schemes. What about remaining 570 schemes? Lack of awareness. That is where you have huge amount of corruption also. The civil society organizations will create awareness among the people about their rights. Second, they will help, they will assist the government in formulating policies. How will they assist the government in formulating policies? By providing inputs to the government about the problems faced by the people. They provide inputs to the government. Why? Because these NGOs, they are working at the field level. You are working in tribal areas. And as we discussed, the secretariat organizations, tribal welfare ministry is the one which will be formulating policies for tribal welfare. The minister and the secretaries, where you find them? In Delhi. Do they know what is happening in interior parts of India, in these forests and the tribal areas? So how do they know about the problems faced by these tribals? This is where the civil society organizations will come into picture. They will provide inputs to the government, because they are working at the field level. They will provide inputs to the government regarding the problems faced by these stakeholders, so that the government can come out with policies that would reflect problems of people at the ground level. Once this is done, the civil society organizations, they will also help the government in implementing policies. At this point of time, if you look at it, maximum number of flagship schemes of the government are implemented with the help of NGOs only. Take the case of right to education, midday meal scheme, and then Pradhan Mantri this PMJAY, Jan Arogya Yojana, and MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. You name it, any of these schemes, they are implemented with the help of these NGOs and civil society organizations only. And finally, what do? They will also provide unbiased feedback to the government about implementation of these schemes at the ground level. Normally, they will be assisting the government. Otherwise, who will be implementing these schemes? Bureaucracy will be implementing the schemes. So, we have what is called bureaucracy-centric governance. We have bureaucracy-centric governance. What does it mean? It is the bureaucracy that formulates the policies. It is also the bureaucracy that implements policies. And it is also the bureaucracy that evaluates the performance. And that is the reason why performance evaluation, performance review done by the government is not authentic. Because imagine you are writing the examination, you have been asked by UPSC to formulate, set up the question paper. Finally, UPSC also has said that evaluate your answer sheet also. How does it look like? Right? In the same manner, it is the bureaucracy that formulates, that implements, and that also evaluates. As a district collector, you are responsible for implementing all these welfare schemes. And then you are also sending a report to the government about the implementation, how they are implemented. So what kind of report will you be sending? he will say that malnourishment among children you can never find in my district. He will say that if you want to know the meaning of malnourishment, please go to Oxford Dictionary. Don't come to my district. Children are crying and staging protests in front of district collector's office, 3 or 4 year old, saying that they are overfed by the state and they want to practice fasting also. Please remember, this is how the government reports are. Sometime back in Gujarat, Gujarat is a state where we know economic indicators are really good, but not social indicators, especially this health among the children. It is not really good. On the other hand, in a state like Kerala, social indicators are very good, education and health, but not economic indicators. So in Gujarat, the health secretary had sent a report to the government. What is it? This NGOs had come out with performance of the government in terms of this health among children. Stunting is very high in Gujarat. So he had sent a report that children in Gujarat are malnourished because it was a voluntary act on the part of the children. Why? Children in Gujarat are fascinated by six-pack. We are talking about 6 months old children. And that is the reason why they are not eating food in a voluntary manner, fasting. That is the reason why there is malnourishment. That is how the reports of government are. For example, Ministry of Health and Ministry of Women and Child Development had come out with a report saying that there is absolutely no malnourishment among the children in India. They come out with their annual reports. All these annual reports are part of India yearbook. Next day, unfortunately, Prime Minister had been asked by United Nations to inaugurate a report, to make a report open. That report was about the same thing. And the United Nations report has pointed out that 1 out of every second child in India is malnourished. Government of India report says 0 malnourishment. That is where the problem is. Why? Because who will be preparing those reports? Bureaucrats. They are the ones who are responsible for implementation. They are also the ones who are responsible for evaluation. That is the reason why these civil society organizations become very important. Why? Because they can provide unbiased, impartial feedback to the government regarding the success and failure of policies, so that this ultimately becomes a critical input for the government while formulating future policies. This is what these civil society organizations will be doing. These are the functions, or these are the activities performed by civil society organizations. So let us look at all these features of civil society organizations. Features of civil society organizations. First, entry and exit. Entry and exit. ENTRY. Entry and exit into a civil society organization is completely voluntary in nature. It is completely voluntary in nature. Entry and exit is completely voluntary in nature. Right. Next, civil society organizations. Next point, next feature. Civil society organizations have neither structure nor form. They have neither structure, STRUCTURE, nor form, FORM. That is next point. Any organization which is not part of either markets or state, either markets or state is a part of civil society organizations. Is part of civil society organizations. Next feature, they are non-profit organizations. Non-profit organizations. That is, their objective is to work for welfare of people, but not to maximize their profits. Next point. Examples of civil society organizations include NGOs, non-governmental organizations, pressure groups, PRESSURE, pressure groups, voluntary associations, caste-based organizations, CAST based organizations, religious institutions, self-help groups, and so on. Next, civil society organizations create awareness among the people about their rights, Next, they try to bridge the gap between the citizens and the state. Next, they provide key inputs to the government. In policy formulation. So that public policies can reflect ground level realities. Next, they also assist the government. ASSIST, the government in policy implementation. For example, major flagship schemes of the government, flagship schemes of the government at present are implemented mostly with the help of NGOs only. with the help of NGOs only. Next, they also provide unbiased feedback to the government regarding implementation of developmental and welfare schemes. Developmental and welfare schemes. Next, civil society organizations also help in fixing accountability of the state towards the citizens with the help of instruments like citizen charters, social audits, and so on. Next, ultimately, they help in transforming our representative democracy into participative democracy. Right, this is what we say about the features of civil society organizations. As we have said, examples of civil society organizations include any organization which is not part of either state or markets. It can be non-governmental organization, NGO. It can be a pressure group. It can be a caste-based organization. It can be a religious institution. It can be a professional association, a voluntary organization, or a self-help group. All of them are part of civil society organizations. Have you been part of any NGOs? Yes? Yes or no? Someone is saying yes. Yes. What did you do as part of NGOs? Pardon? I cannot hear you. What is this? Huh? Okay, teaching unidentified dead bodies. Okay, that's a good thing. Yeah, okay. And anything? So no problem. Okay. After 1 or 2 years, you will become part of it. Right? So, as we have said, these civil society organizations include NGOs, pressure groups, and all of them. So, we have to look at the most important one, pressure groups. So, what are these pressure groups? Pardon? Break. Break is not part of pressure groups. Of course, you are pressure groups. Pressure groups means a group of people coming together to put pressure on me to give break. That is what is a pressure group. So what are the examples of pressure groups that you can have in our society? A group of people coming together to put pressure on the government to get their demands met. What are the examples of pressure groups? Okay, trade unions. Nowadays you don't find them much. Next. Yes, panchayats, caste-based organizations. They are very powerful pressure groups. And then religious institutions. They are also pressure groups. Then farmers associations, organizations. In India, they are very, very powerful pressure groups. Then regional institutions, regional organizations demanding autonomy. They are also pressure groups. Then language-based organizations. They are also pressure groups. Student unions. How many of you are part of students union? How many of you have gone to jail as part? Why are you saying that? Let him say. What do you want to say? Why do you want to? Right, right. How many of you have, forget about going to jail, how many of you have participated in agitations in school or in college? Came out on the streets? No? Yes or no? That is where the problem with globalization. What globalization has done? It has changed our society. Societies have become more inward looking, conservative. We are not concerned about others. We are only concerned about our own welfare, our own growth and development. That is the reason why students' unions nowadays are no longer pressure groups. When was the last time you have seen students, thousands of students, lakhs of students coming out on the streets to protest for something? That is not caste-based. OBC reservations are caste. I am talking about students' union. When was the last time you have seen a students' union? You don't remember, right? The last time when the students' union had come out, students had come out was during this in Delhi, in against this one as part of this no Anna Hazare movement. Anna Hazare movement, students have seen, and more importantly, Nirbhaya movement. There we have seen thousands of students coming onto the streets. After that, we have not seen. Right, anyway, you can take break for 5 minutes and come back and this is what pressure groups. So, take break for 2 hours. Right. So let us look at these pressure groups and what is the criticism against those pressure groups and everything else. So what is a pressure group? As I said, when a group of people come together with similar interests, they come together to put pressure on government to formulate policies or implement policies that would benefit them. That is what we call a pressure group. For example, these caste-based organizations, they are coming together to put pressure on the government to include their caste in reservations, OBC category. That is a pressure group. Farmers, you have seen in Delhi, farmers, they protested against the government for a long period of time, demanding a repeal of the 3 farm laws. That is a pressure group. But the most powerful pressure group we talk about in India is these corporates. Corporates. They are the most powerful pressure groups. Why? Because these corporates have access to government all the time. We have these organizations like CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, and FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we have SHM, Association of Chamber of Commerce, right? They are the most powerful pressure groups. And what do? They lobby with the government, popularly known as corporate lobbying. They lobby with the government to frame policies that would benefit them in terms of their profits. And they would provide donations to these political parties, what we call them as corporate donations. And this is where, if you remember, we spoke about systematic corruption also, economic factors. We called it as crony capitalism. The nexus between the corporates, politicians, and bureaucrats. And they are the ones who will influence public policies. Who will be influencing public policies? The question that we are asking here is that we know that these corporates will be lobbying with the government, but corporate lobbying in India is not legal. It is not legal. Right now, as part of some of these electoral reforms, the government has made it partially legal. How? You can buy electoral bonds. You can buy electoral bonds, but the only thing is that the political parties, they do not know who is donating to them. So corporate lobbying is still not completely legal in India. On the other hand, in a country like United States of America, these pressure groups are the ones who will be influencing public policies. In America, only these pressure groups, you can see them influencing public policies in America. The most powerful pressure group in America is this arms lobby. Arms lobby. In America, you can see almost on a daily basis, you can see Americans celebrating Diwali. Gunfire. Normally, second standard student and the teacher says that you have to do the homework. Suddenly he remembers his fundamental rights. Americans have absolute fundamental rights, unlike Indians. And how dare you can ask me to do homework? That is part of right against exploitation. And tomorrow he will do instant justice, not like going to court and doing all the things. Take out his gun and starts killing everyone. That is what happens. America, almost on a daily basis, even yesterday also there was gunfire in America. At some point of time, it's some place in America you find this kind of gunfire, resulting in the death of so many innocent people. But still, neither Republican president nor Democratic president will ban these arms. Why? Because this arms lobby is the most powerful pressure group in America. They donate huge amounts of money to both Republicans and Democrats, to contest elections. American elections are highly costly ones. On an average, in American elections, these candidates contesting elections to president, office of president, spend at least $3 billion. They'll be getting mostly from these corporates. And they will make sure that when the political party comes to power, they would make policies that would benefit them. It is completely legal. For example, you can see, in America, every American is either a Democrat or a Republican, either red or blue. Either Democrat or a Republican. Take the case of this guy, Elon Musk. He openly said that he would be donating so much amount of money to Republicans. Same is the case with Mark Zuckerberg. Everyone donate, and they openly do those things. And once the political parties come to power, they make policies that will help these pressure groups. India also pays huge amounts of money to these pressure groups. America has this Senate and House of Representatives, and they are the ones who will be making policies. We have clear-cut separation of powers in America, and India pays huge amounts of money every year to these senators. Every year we pay a huge amount of money to these senators. And why? They will act as a pressure group in the Senate, arguing for India's interests. In that Senate, the Senate will be making influencing foreign policies. So tomorrow any foreign policy discussion takes place, they will be arguing for India. Similarly, Pakistan also pays huge amount of money. That is part of what is called pressure groups. They can openly take money and they can strongly advocate your interests. It is completely legal. The question that is being asked in India now is, should also we make this corporate lobbying legal? We know that these Adanis and Ambanis, they will be donating money to all political parties. Please remember, businessmen will never have any political affiliations. They will always donate money to any political party that is in power. So Adani will be donating money to BJP at a central level, and he will be donating money to Congress in Rajasthan, because in Rajasthan Congress government is there. Money has no color, nor it has any ideology. Till recently we had a pink color. The government has made it black. They call it as black money right now. If you are having any 2000 rupees notes, it is black money. Till tomorrow. Thank you very much. As if you are having hordes of it. Show me how many currency notes you have. Right? So remove those 3 zeros. Right? So coming back here, the question that is being asked here is, should we make this corporate lobbying legal? We know that they are donating money. What are the advantages of making corporate lobbying legal? We can make our electoral process more transparent. Everyone will know who is donating which amount of money to which political party. It ensures transparency in electoral process. Once we know who are donating money to political parties, on the basis of that we can also decide our electoral outcomes. We can also decide our electoral choices. So it ensures transparency, it ensures better choices for people also. And another important advantage of making corporate lobbying legal is that we can completely remove the scope for black money in elections. As we discussed with electoral bonds, these electoral bonds is not a right solution, because as you can see, it is the government who knows about the money donated by the corporates to opposition parties, because these electoral bonds are issued by State Bank of India, and the State Bank of India, a public sector enterprise working under directly the Ministry of Finance. So the government will know. So electoral bonds are not anonymous as the government claims. So if I am donating money to say any opposition party, tomorrow there is every possibility that government will start reading ABCD, CBI, DEED, right? So that is the reason why, if you look at it, more than 90% of the electoral bonds are going to only one political party. So electoral bonds have not resulted in any transparency in election financing in India, electoral financing. So why can't we make this corporate lobbying legal in our country, so that we can ensure what is called free, fair, honest, transparent elections? These are the arguments in favor of corporate lobbying. What are the arguments against corporate lobbying? Why we should not make it legal? So the basic problem with India is that India is a country with a huge amount of inequalities. Already the rich corporates have unlimited access to corridors of power. Tomorrow when the finance minister is formulating the budget, finance minister will be discussing the budget with FICCI, SHM and all these people, asking them, what do you want from the budget? Will the finance minister ever ask a farmer who is about to commit suicide in Maharashtra, what is your demand from the government? They don't. A finance minister will never ask a poor person whose house has been drowned in the recent floods, what are you expecting from the government? No, they don't. A finance minister will never ask the president of Delhi Beggars Association, what are you expecting from the government? Who stays normally in Old Rayan Nagar? Thank you very much. Right? So at least you made president of one organization. Right? So that is what? Poor people already do not have any access to corridors of power, the South Block and North Block. If you are making corporate lobbying legal, what happens? Public policies will be completely monopolized by corporates, and public policies would only reflect the demands and the demands of only the corporates, the wishes and demands of corporates. Poor people will be completely left out. In America, they could make corporate lobbying legal because America is a society wherein ordinary Americans are not dependent on the government for their survival. Whenever the budget is formulated, you can see that our corporates will demand that the government must cut down its fiscal deficit. The government must reduce its expenditure on welfare. On the other hand, they demand a lot of tax concessions for themselves. When the government is giving tax concessions for corporates, it is not considered subsidy. When the government is giving food to poor people, it is considered subsidy and it is a wasteful expenditure. So if you are making corporate lobbying legal, will the government ever listen to the problems of ordinary people? Never. That is the reason why in our country we cannot make corporate lobbying legal. Then how to prevent this corporatization of our politics? For that we need to implement electoral reforms. The reform that we have studied. Electoral bonds have been a failure. Electoral bonds have been a failure. What did we say? We said that section 29 of Representation of People's Act 1951 should be amended, wherein every single rupee received by any political party must be only in the form of checks, and the entire information should be made public. Political parties should be brought under right to information, RTI. They are the ones who are strongly opposing RTI rather than making corporate lobbying legal. Otherwise what happens? Already public policies are dominated by the corporates in India. Allocation of resources are done mostly to benefit these big corporates. All these are asked as ethics case studies only. That's why I'm spending a lot of time here on these things. Ethics case studies only. Everything is part of governance only. So what is the problem with capitalism, and what is the problem with this kind of democracy? Rich people will have all the profits, whereas poor people will face all the problems. The distribution of resources are done in such a manner that rich people will have only profits and poor people will have only losses. The thing about capitalism is that in capitalism we say that profits are private. Will the corporate share their profits with you? Whereas losses are public. Losses are public. How? When the corporate incur losses, and they will stop paying the loans to the banks, and what happens? NPAs of banks will increase, and who will pay those things? People. In the last 9 years or so, the government had written off not 1 or 2, 15 lakh crores of rupees of NPAs of only 300 corporates in India. That is where the problem. And rich people will have all those facilities and profits. They will be driving in their private jets, and they will be staying in 7-star accommodations, and they will be polluting the environment. Whereas it is the poor people who will bear all the costs. Can this kind of growth be sustained? Obviously not. The same thing was asked as your ethics case study. What is required is inclusive, equitable growth, wherein you must give opportunities for poor people to participate in governance. Is it possible to ensure participation of poor people in governance by making corporate lobbying legal? Obviously not. That is the reason why we should not make corporate lobbying legal. Why? Because America is different. In America, what is the per capita income of an average American? It is around almost $65,000, almost $70,000. If you take inflation, it is almost $80,000. What is our per capita income? $2,000. Right? In America, how did they define a poor person? You have a house, you have vehicle, you have a color television, you have internet, you have refrigerator, and you have all the facilities, but you don't have any job. That is the definition of a poor person in America. And according to all the committees that the government of India had set up right from 1960s, from Lakadwala committee to the present Rangarajan committee, what is the definition of a poor person in India? If you are earning 32 rupees in urban areas and 29 rupees in rural areas per day, you are above poverty line. You are part of IPL, Ambani family. Right? That is what? That is the kind of definition of poverty in India. So is it viable? Is it does it make any practical sense to make corporate lobbying in India legal? Obviously not. On the other hand, we have to implement electoral reforms. In India, we have these pressure groups. What do these pressure groups do? They use all kinds of means to put pressure on the government. So what are the means, what are the instruments used by the pressure groups to put in a pressure on the government to formulate policies? First one is, as we have mentioned, is lobbying. Corporates will do a lot of lobbying behind the closed doors. They will meet the politicians and bureaucrats. They will say that give us this project and take this percentage of money. Everyone will benefit, not people. Right? Lobbying. Then, next one is through conducting, through holding rallies, public rallies, dharnas, bunds. They will try to put pressure on the government. For example, in 2017, by the time our Prime Minister was undoubtedly the most powerful person in the country, elections were supposed to be held to Gujarat. Our Prime Minister was forced to spend more than 1 month fully in Gujarat because of one person, Hardik Patel. He was not even eligible to vote in elections at that point of time. Not contest in elections. To contest elections, you need minimum 25 years. He was also only 22 years. But he was demanding reservations for Patel community. He was holding rallies where he was attracting million people in one rally, 10 lakh people. And BJP was in real danger of losing the elections. That was the reason why our Prime Minister had to spend almost 1 month there only in Gujarat. That is the power of pressure groups. And Hardik Patel, he announced that he would support any political party that would give reservations to Patels. Immediately Congress party, which was in opposition at that point of time, has said that if we come to power, we will give 10% reservations to Patels. This is the instrument used by the pressure groups. They will support those political parties that will fulfill their demand. They will try to elect those MPs and MLAs and ministers who will fulfill their demands. These are the instruments used by the pressure groups to get their demands met. Similarly, take the case of, as I said, there's farmers' agitation in Delhi. Farmers from Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh. They had camped in Delhi. They stayed in Delhi for 10 months and they demanded repeal of the 3 farm laws. Finally, the government was forced to repeal the 3 farm laws because elections were to be held to Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. Punjab, it was not a problem for the government because the BJP was not such a strong political force in Punjab. But in Uttar Pradesh, it was problematic for them because Western Uttar Pradesh, a region where BJP was expecting a huge number of seats. So the government was forced to withdraw these farm bills, these 3 farm bills. That is what the pressure groups can do. Similarly, we have seen most of these political parties, especially in agreeing to the demands of the caste-based organizations. In Maharashtra, Marathas right now, you have seen they are agitating in Maharashtra for more reservations. And in other states, in Haryana, Jats, demanding reservations. Right? In Rajasthan, Gujars are demanding inclusion in scheduled tribe, I think, scheduled caste tribe. Yes. So that is what these pressure groups will be doing. And then, as we study in our economy, we are yet to implement the 3rd generation of economic reforms. The most important part of this first generation of economic reforms we have implemented between 1991 and 1993. That is what we say first generation. Second generation of economic reforms we have implemented between 2001 and 2003. We are yet to implement 3rd generation of economic reforms. The most important part of this 3rd generation of economic reforms is what we call labor reforms. We must allow the industries, factories to hire and fire people, like in a true capitalist country like America. Still now, we have not implemented the 3rd generation of labor reforms, so economic reforms called labor reforms, because of strong and powerful pressure groups, trade unions. Right? Similarly, we have other pressure groups mostly working at the regional level, working demanding a separate state for themselves, linguistic organizations, and then ethnic groups and religious institutions, caste-based organizations. They are all part of pressure groups. So at the end of the day, should we have pressure groups or not? for the effective functioning of democracy. We definitely need pressure groups because democracy is all about representation. If one person comes onto the street and starts demanding, nobody will look at him. For example, tomorrow, if the water is not coming out of the taps, if I go and sit on a dharna in front of Agarwal seats in Old Nagar, the street dog also will not notice me. It will think that this person is more useless than me. If one person, nobody gives any importance. If 10 people sit on a dharna with a tent, then the local councillor will come and ask, tell what is your problem. Democracy is all about numbers. If 100 people are there, MLA will come. If 10,000 people are there, minister will come. Right? If 1 lakh people are there, Prime Minister will come. If 10 lakh people are there, Prime Minister will come. It is all about numbers. Democracy is all about numbers. That is the reason why we need pressure groups. For example, we have pressure groups working in the field of language, linguistic pressure groups, to protect and preserve their diversity, linguistic diversity. Pressure groups, working for various ethnic groups. India has a multiracial, multi-ethnic society. You must protect their interests. Then only the government will come out with policies. And most importantly, we have some of these pressure groups working in the field of environment. Because protecting the ecological system is one of the most important things. Because the government or the private sector are not that much interested in protecting the ecological systems. Environmental degradation is taking place in a speedy manner. And we are already receiving the negative impact of this environmental degradation. And we need those kind of pressure groups. When there is a global climate negotiations takes place, almost on every alternate year, you can see that all these pressure groups will be assembling in those places. The last meeting took place where? Have you done international relations, IR? Yes. Where was the last this environmental summit took place? It was asked, please remember, in your maybe GS paper 3, I think it was asked. Please remember, as I keep on saying, entire UPSC preparation starts and ends with newspaper reading. Please. Right? So, when the last meeting took place, where we don't know, but when it had taken place, you have seen all these global pressure groups working in the field of environment, assembling there, demanding a commitment from the countries to reduce carbon emissions and also to protect ecological systems. I don't know. Right? Right. So that is what it is. That is what these pressure groups can do. For example, we have women pressure groups demanding protection of women, vulnerable sections. We need all these pressure groups for the effective functioning of society. Right? So let us take a few words about pressure groups. What are these pressure groups and how they function? Write down pressure groups. A pressure group may be defined. A pressure group may be defined as a group of people with similar interests. As a group of people with similar interests coming together to put pressure on the government to formulate and implement policies to formulate and implement policies that would benefit their interests. That would benefit their interests. Benefit their interests. INTERESTS. Examples of pressure groups include. Examples of pressure groups include. KAP panchayats. KAP, KHAP. Caste panchayats. KAP or caste panchayats. Trade unions. Trade unions. Farmers associations. Farmers associations. Regional organizations. Regional organizations. Religious institutions. Religious institutions. And professional bodies. And professional bodies like CII, Confederation of Indian Industries, FICCI, FICCI, CII, Confederation of Indian Industries, FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Commerce and Industry. Do you know what is the most powerful pressure group in India? What is it? Pardon? What is the most powerful pressure group in India? Yes. IAS lobby. IAS officers lobby. Since independence till now, we have not implemented a single civil services reform which makes our bureaucracy efficient and accountable. They would never allow the government to implement any reform that would make these IAS efficient and accountable. They would never allow. That's the reason why in the last 75 years we are continuing with the same colonial administration that was introduced by the Britishers. And you will be surprised to know, till now, the government of India has not removed any IAS officer because of his inefficiency. All the IAS officers who have worked in India since independence are so efficient, except that country is backward and poor. It is not a problem with the IAS officers, they are good, but the people are bad. Till now, there are no accountability mechanisms. All these things we will be studying as part of civil services reforms. The most powerful one is IAS lobby, because they will be there permanent. You know, some of you are talking about some institutions. Those institutions will be powerful as long as that political party will be there in power. After that, they will not be exercising the same kind of power. Whereas IAS officers, whichever political party that is in power, the only powerful institution in India is IAS officers. That is the reason why get into IAS. You know, how do we define an IAS officer? An IAS officer is a young person who gets into services at the age of 24 and stops learning after that. That is the definition. Why? Why do they stop learning? Because you are IAS. Do gods learn anything? Gods believe only in teaching, not learning. And these IAS officers are, you know, why? You know, IAS is known as a heaven-born service. Heaven-born service. Who takes birth in heaven? Gods. That is why we call them as gods. Do the gods ever commit any mistake? No. They never commit any mistakes. So is there anything, is there any necessity for them to learn anything? That is the reason why we say an IAS officer is a young person who gets into service at the age of 24 and who stops learning after that. So since you cannot beat them, join them. Get into IAS. Right? So let us proceed and look at other things. Next, what are the instruments used by pressure groups? Instruments used by pressure groups. Instruments used by pressure groups. Right. Pressure groups use both. Pressure groups use both formal and informal means. Formal and informal means to influence. Formal and informal means to influence governments. To influence governments. They include electing, first electing those who are willing to implement their demands. After reaching positions of power. So you will try to elect those representatives who are willing to implement your demands after reaching positions of power. That is what I said. Hardik Patel at that point of time has said that he would be supporting Congress party because Congress party had promised 10% reservations for Patels. And as I said, the situation had become so difficult for the ruling political party BJP at that point of time that our Prime Minister had to spend a lot of time only in Gujarat, because your home state, if you are losing, automatically it also will be a huge dent on your credibility. He could not afford to lose the home state. And in spite of our Prime Minister campaigning in Gujarat for a long period of time, at the end of the day, BJP got only 3 or 4 seats above what is majority. That is the power of pressure groups. They can influence electoral outcomes. That is the reason why you can see right now in Maharashtra what is happening. Almost every political party is supporting the demand of Marathas to be included in OBCs, because they are very powerful pressure groups. And that is the reason why you can see this Bihar state government has carried out this caste benefit census, because again they wanted to appease those pressure groups. Everything at the end of the day is all about pressure groups. So what does the pressure groups do? As we have written, they will elect those who will be implementing their demands when they come to positions of power. And India has what we call first past the political post political system, electoral system. So you don't have to get 50% of votes. If you get the votes of your pressure groups 10%, 15%, that will be more than sufficient to win elections. That is when they become extremely significant for political parties. Next, what are the other instruments? Through petitions and prayers. Through petitions and prayers. Petitions and prayers. Write down. These pressure groups will approach both the political executive and bureaucracy. And create awareness among the ruling class about their problems. about their problems. So once they are aware about the problems, they can make policies. Next, they also use media, pressure groups. Next instrument is they also use media to create awareness. They also use media to create awareness among other sections of society, regarding their problems. So that they can get support. From all sections of society. Next, they also use instruments. Next point, they also use instruments like public rallies, meetings, hunger strikes, bunds, B-A-N-D-H, bunds, and hartals, H-A-R-T-A-L, to get their demands met. MET, by the ruling class. Next, another important instrument used by pressure groups is lobbying. Another important instrument used by pressure groups is lobbying. L-O-B-B-Y-I-N-G, lobbying. We can see corporate lobbying. As an effective instrument to influence public policies. Right. So these are all the instruments used by the pressure groups. They can they will try to elect only those people to houses of legislature, whether it's parliament or state assemblies, who will promise to implement their demands. And they can use these petitions and prayers. They keep on meeting the ministers and the bureaucracy, giving representations, requesting them to formulate policies. Then we have also said that they use other instruments, media also. They come out with the full page advertisements. For example, the government of India has banned mining in Goa. So that is the reason why you can see from time to time in the newspapers, a Goan Mining Association coming out with advertisements in newspapers requesting the government to remove the ban on mining, saying that thousands of workers, thousands of laborers have lost their employment. These are all what the pressure groups will be doing to create awareness, to get the support of other sections of society. Similarly, as you have written, big public rallies and hunger strikes. For example, Anna Hazare, he went on hunger strike, demanding a Lokpal. These are all the instruments used by the pressure groups. This hunger strike as an instrument was first used by Mahatma Gandhi. Right? Gandhi was always on a fast track right? So, and on top of it, apart from hunger strike, he would also adopt a Maun Vrat. That means he will not speak also. So there is no way to communicate. Either accept his demand or accept his demand. Two choices for you. Either accept his demand today or tomorrow. That is what Ambedkar has said. Gandhi was using this hunger strike as a dangerous weapon. In the future, if our leaders also start using this hunger strike, what will happen to our democracy? That is what Ambedkar has said. And our politicians have mastered this art of hunger strike. Right? You can see Anna Hazare went on fast in Delhi 2011. It had become a mass movement. People had left their jobs from foreign countries, watched Shah Rukh Khan's Swadesh movie, came to India and participated in Anna Hazare agitation. After that, whoever were part of Anna Hazare agitation had benefited. Arvind Kejriwal had become the Chief Minister of Delhi, and Manish Sisodia had become Deputy Chief Minister, and our Kiran Bedi, she had become the Lieutenant Governor. And what about all those people who participated? They are still jobless. Right? Please remember, whenever these kind of agitations take place, it is only the leaders who benefit after those agitations. When Jay Prakash Narayanan launched anti-corruption movement in mid-1970s, it led to the emergence of so many political leaders. Yes, Lalu Prasad Yadav went on to become the Chief Minister. And of course, later he was arrested in corruption. That's a footnote, we do not worry. But he was part of anti-corruption movement. Right? And then Nitish Kumar, he was also part of that movement. Lalu Prasad Yadav was the president of Patna Students Union University. Patna University Students Union president. Nitish Kumar was general secretary. And the last 30 years, Bihar was ruled by only both of them. That is the power of agitations. I don't know what you are sitting in the class. What you are doing by sitting in the class? Start agitation. Say that UPSC should conduct open book examination. Right? Or it's not 3 hours, it should be 30 hours. Anytime you can go and take a right answer and come back. Like in the class, UPSC should also give breaks between examination. 10 minutes break. Right? You can start all these agitations, you become a student leader and immediately get into politics and become at least Prime Minister. Right? So, coming back here, that is the power of this lobbying. Next, write down, should corporate lobbying be made legal in India? Should corporate lobbying be made legal in India? Corporate lobbying means, write down, corporate lobbying means corporates acting as a powerful pressure group and lobbying with the government to influence public policies. Those who argue in favor of corporate lobbying, has the following arguments. First, it takes place in an informal manner, on a large scale in the country. It has also resulted in crony capitalism, CRONY, crony capitalism. Political parties had spent around 60,000 crores in 2009 elections to Lok Sabha, 2019 elections to Lok Sabha. It is mostly unaccounted money. Unaccounted money means black money. Unaccounted money. If corporate lobbying is made legal, it can benefit the economy. It can benefit the economy in the form of a huge amount of increase in tax revenues. For example, 60,000 crores, take in a 30% taxes. How much it is? 60,000 crores means the highest income tax rate in India is right now 43%. How much revenues the government will be getting? 43%. 60,000 crores and 43%. CSAT question. Take your time. Don't answer immediately. Take at least 10 years. How much? Nearly 25,000 crores. That is what the government will be getting if you make corporate lobbying legal. Next, it will also result in next point. It will also result in more transparency in the functioning of political systems in India. It also, next point, it also can create awareness among citizens. About the nexus between nexus between the politicians and the businessmen. Next point, it can ultimately help citizens to decide their electoral choices, in a more rational manner. Right? These are all the advantages of making corporate lobbying legal. Next, arguments against making a corporate lobbying legal. Lobbying legal. What are the arguments against making corporate lobbying legal. In United States of America, corporate lobbying is legal wherein pressure groups can influence public policies in a decisive manner. DECISIVA, decisive manner. Corporates donate money to political parties and political parties in turn frame policies. Frame policies that would benefit these corporates. But it must be noticed that America is a developed country, with a very high per capita income. Average American does not depend on government or its policies to survive. But India has a different society. Maximum amount of population in the country depend on the government for their survival. For example, 67% of our population receives food grains. 67% of our population receives food grains free of cost. From the government. Next paragraph. If corporate lobbying is made legal, there is every possibility of corporates influencing public policies in such a manner that results in taking away all the benefits given to poorer sections of society. Poorer sections of society. It can only result in widening inequalities. It can only result in widening, W-I-D-E-N-I, widening, N-G, widening inequalities between the rich and poor. It cannot be made illegal. It cannot be made legal. Then let us see solution. What should be done? What should be done? What is the solution? Instead of making corporate lobbying legal, instead of making this corporate lobbying legal, the government must focus on removing corruption in the political system. Amendments can be made. Can be made to RPA 1951, Representation of People's Act 1951, wherein political parties should be allowed to receive funds only in the form of bank transfers or checks. Similarly, the entire expenditure of political parties, should only be in the form of bank transactions. Political parties should also be brought under, right to information. Next, public policy formulation. Should be made more inclusive. And transparent. This is what we say. Rather than making corporate lobbying legal, this is what we should be doing. So, if you look at there's a history of civil society organizations in India, we can have a brief look at them. How the civil society organizations in India, these NGOs, had evolved over a period of time. In 1950s, these NGOs, 1950s and 1960s, they had restricted themselves to only performing charitable activities. For example, we had these institutions like Mother Teresa Foundation, missionaries of charity, and Ramakrishna Mission, started by Swami Vivekananda. And both of them were mostly involved in providing education and health to people. 1950s and 1960s. By late 1960s, we have seen changes in these NGOs, civil society organizations. By late 1960s, what the country had witnessed was a social unrest because of the failure of planning process. Agriculture was also a big failure, and the land ceiling legislation, which was passed by parliament with a lot of fanfare, and which was also included in the 9th schedule of our constitution through first amendment, when it comes to its implementation, it has been a failure, because most of these big jamindars have immediately transferred the land in the name of their binamis, and land reforms have been a failure. This year in your economy, the same question was asked for 15 marks also, right? Land reforms have been a failure. And where can we see this worst kind of exploitation, especially this jamindari system? Bengal. Jamindari system was introduced by the Britishers in Bengal province. Bengal is one state where you have these big jamindars exploiting the landless farmers. So in late 1960s, what happened? Students from colleges and universities in Bengal, they had left their colleges and universities and started an agitation, civil society agitation, people's agitation, demanding implementation of land reforms. And this agitation was started from a place called Naxalbari in Bengal, a village called Naxalbari. That is the reason why we have this Naxalism. Naxalism had come from the place called Naxalbari in Bengal, a village. And it was led by student union leaders at that point of time, Charu Majumdar and Kanu Sanyal and others. They started this civil society movement demanding land reforms. Unfortunately, this movement had become a violent movement by late 1960s and early 1970s. The government had suppressed this movement with, as usual, the force, the might of the state. So in late 1960s, civil society movement was because of our failure to ensure socio-economic growth and development. In 1970s, it was because of political reasons. In Gujarat, this anti-corruption movement was started by, again, students. Later, it was taken over by political parties. Jayaprakash Narayanan started this total revolution, Sampurna Kranti Andolan, demanding total revolution. And I said, student union leaders from universities and colleges, they left their colleges and universities to participate in this movement. A very popular civil society movement which had become political later. And then during emergency, another important civil society organization, this RSS, a cultural organization affiliated, BJP is affiliated to RSS. And it was at the forefront of a people's movement during emergency, wherein this RSS had provided the much needed information to the people about the atrocities that were committed during emergency by the ruling political party. In 1980s, we have seen so many movements coming up in different parts of the country. For example, in Assam, all Assam Students Union also started demanding a separate identity for Assamese, local Assamese. And in Punjab, Khalistani movement, which had become a terror movement later. And then in late 1980s, we also have seen caste movements. Bahujan movement, Samaj movement was started by Kanshi Ram. Later it was converted into a political party. They are all part of what we call civil society movements that we have seen. After 1990s, we adopted this LPG that led to the birth of thousands of NGOs in the country. At present, India has a maximum number of NGOs anywhere else in the world. It is said that India has more number of NGOs than toilets. and all of them are working for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. That is where we can stop today, and tomorrow we will look at the criticisms and what should be done also. I think tomorrow also we have the class at the same time. Yes.